William Foster seemed to have it all: a towering fintech empire, a penthouse in Philadelphia, and a life run on precision. But beneath the city lights and polished surfaces, something was missing. That something found him on a rainy night, when a soaked delivery boy dropped a folded birth certificate on the marble floor. William picked it up and froze. His name was printed under Father. 12-year-old Charlie wasn't delivering just food. He was carrying truth. A truth tied to Elizabeth, the woman William once loved and left behind at a Boston fintech summit. Now, she's gravely ill, and Charlie, along with his twin brother Ben, is struggling to care for her. Shaken by the discovery, William visits Elizabeth in the hospital. Her frail voice reveals the betrayal. His assistant intercepted every letter she sent. The regret is overwhelming. But it's not too late. William moves fast, relocating the boys, funding their dreams, and vowing to shield them from Elizabeth's greedy cousin, who suddenly wants custody. As a courtroom battle brews, Charlie's birth certificate, once dropped by accident, becomes the symbol of a broken past mending itself. But will love and truth win before it's too late? One rainy night cracked William's perfect world. What came through was family. Subscribe to see this heartfelt story unfold. Rain tapped steadily against the floor-to-ceiling windows of a sleek penthouse overlooking the Philadelphia skyline. Inside, the space was pristine: cool marble floors, muted lighting, and furniture so modern it barely invited you to sit. William Foster, 42, sat alone on a leather sofa, a tablet glowing dimly in his hand. The quiet hum of the city below matched the low murmur of jazz playing in the background. He should have felt proud. He was the founder and CEO of Foster Pay, the leading fintech firm in the Northeast. Millions moved through his platform daily. Investors listened when he spoke. Politicians requested his opinion. But tonight, even his success felt like background noise. William set the tablet down. He rubbed his temple, staring into the darkness, not at the city, but at nothing. A framed photo on a nearby shelf caught a sliver of light. It was him at a ribbon-cutting ceremony, alone, smiling for the camera. No family beside him, no child tugging at his jacket, no one waiting for him to come home. The doorbell buzzed. He glanced at the clock. 9:41 p.m. He hadn't ordered anything. He opened the door to find a soaked delivery boy, maybe 12 years old, hair flattened under a hoodie, shivering but trying to look tough. In his hands was a paper bag. "Delivery for Mr. Foster," the boy said, voice thin but steady. "I didn't order anything." The boy blinked, then shrugged. "It's prepaid. Maybe someone sent it?" William took the bag. "Hold on, I'll get you a tip." As he turned, he heard a soft clatter. He looked down. A thin, damp folder had fallen from the boy's pocket onto the floor. A birth certificate. "Hey, you dropped this." He picked it up automatically, but when his eyes glanced over the page, his breath caught. Father's name. William Foster. The room spun. He looked up at the boy again. Those eyes. They were too familiar. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. "Charlie," the boy said. "Charlie Wren." William's grip tightened on the paper. Wren. 12 years ago. He remembered the fintech summit in Boston. The keynotes, the networking mixers, the late-night talk in the hotel bar with a woman named Elizabeth Wren. Smart, fearless, she challenged his ideas, called his company's growth impressive but hollow. They laughed, they drank, they spent one unforgettable night. Then he left, like he always did, business first. "Is your mom's name Elizabeth?" William asked, barely recognizing his own voice. Charlie's expression shifted, cautious now. "Yeah, she's sick, real sick. We're just doing deliveries until she can, stand again." "Wait," William said, stepping aside. "Come in for a second." Charlie hesitated, then stepped into the immaculate condo, dripping on the polished floor. "I didn't mean to drop that," the boy said quickly. "The paper. It's nothing." "It's not nothing," William said. "That's me. On the certificate. That's my name." Charlie froze, his shoulders stiff. "My mom said my dad was some guy from out of town. Didn't care." William's throat tightened. "That's not true. She said you never answered her letters, said maybe she picked the wrong guy." William stared at the boy, trying to breathe through the storm inside his chest. "She wrote to me?" Charlie nodded. "A bunch of times, I think. Then she stopped. Figured she got the message." Something sharp twisted inside William. He thought back to those years. How many fan letters, pitches, random messages did his assistant delete without telling him? "I didn't know," he said finally. "I swear." Charlie eyed him. "Then maybe you should come meet her." William looked down at the birth certificate in his hand. Damp, folded, but still legible. A symbol, not of a mistake, but of a moment that demanded to be claimed. "Okay," he said softly. "Let's go." The elevator doors slid shut behind them, sealing off the quiet luxury of William's penthouse. Charlie stood in the corner, arms crossed, hoodie still damp. William pressed the button for the lobby, but his mind raced faster than the descent. 12 years. 12 years of silence, and all it took was a soaked envelope and a boy with eyes like hers. At the front desk, the concierge looked up in surprise. "Mr. Foster, heading out this late?" William gave a tight nod. "I'll be back." Outside, the rain had softened to a mist. The city lights reflected on the slick pavement, casting long shadows. William opened the passenger door of his sleek black SUV. "Hop in." Charlie hesitated, glancing up at him. "You're not going to yell or freak out?" "No," William said softly. "I'm trying to understand." Charlie slid in without a word. As they drove, William gripped the steering wheel harder than necessary. "Where do you live?" "South of Girard," Charlie replied. "Near 26th Street. It's not far." William nodded. He glanced at the birth certificate on the console. Its edges curled from moisture, the ink slightly blurred. But his name, William Foster, remained perfectly clear. A symbol. A truth too long ignored. The apartment complex came into view. 3 stories of aging brick with metal balconies that sagged under rusted rails. Lights flickered in some windows. Others were dark. "That's us," Charlie said, pointing. "3rd floor, the one with the towel in the window." They climbed the stairs. On the 3rd landing, Charlie turned to face him. "Look," he said, voice low. "My mom doesn't know I came here tonight. She thinks I was working." William nodded. "I won't say anything until she's ready." Charlie hesitated, then unlocked the door. Inside, the apartment was small but tidy. A couch with one sunken cushion. Dishes stacked by the sink. A heater hummed in the corner. The scent of old coffee lingered in the air. From the hallway, a second voice called out, weak but distinct. "Charlie, is that you?" "Yeah, Mom," he called back. "Just me." William's chest tightened at the sound. Elizabeth. A second boy peeked out from the hallway. Identical. Just slightly more serious, like the twin who thought before speaking. Ben. He stared at William. "Who's that?" Charlie stepped between them. "It's someone who might help." Ben blinked. "He looks like—" "I know." Before William could speak, a loud cough echoed from the bedroom. Charlie rushed in. "Mom, you okay?" William followed, slowly, cautiously. Elizabeth lay on a narrow bed near the window, propped up by 2 pillows. Her face was pale, her hair thinner than he remembered, but her eyes, they were the same. Sharp, steady, unmistakable. She looked up and froze. "William," she whispered. He stepped forward, unsure if he should speak. "Elizabeth, I didn't know." Her eyes searched his face, scanning for motive, for apology, for time lost. "You never answered." "I never got your letters," he said. "Your emails. I didn't even know you tried." She closed her eyes briefly. "I sent them. All of them. Someone always said you were too busy." William felt a burn rising in his throat. My assistant. He must have filtered you out. Charlie stood beside the bed, silent, watching them both. Ben leaned into the doorway, fidgeting with the hem of his sweatshirt. Elizabeth's voice was fragile. You're really here? I'm here, William said, and I'm not going anywhere. For a moment the room was still. Then Elizabeth's gaze dropped to the birth certificate in his hand. You saw it? He nodded. Tonight. He dropped it. She sighed. I was going to tell you. I just didn't know how. William knelt beside her bed, gently placing the paper on the nightstand. I can't change the past, but if you'll let me, I want to help now. You, them. Elizabeth blinked back tears. Help how? First, he said, turning to the boys, you're not working late anymore. You're 12. That ends now. Charlie bit his lip. But we need the money. I've got you, William said, starting tonight. Elizabeth exhaled, tears slipping silently across her cheeks. You really mean it? I do. Charlie reached for the birth certificate and set it gently back on the table, smoothing the corner with his palm. Then maybe this wasn't an accident, he said quietly. William nodded, eyes full. Maybe it was finally time. The apartment fell quiet after Elizabeth drifted back to sleep. The only sound was the hum of the heater and the occasional creak of old pipes. William stood near the bedroom door, still processing everything. The boys, the truth, the time he'd lost. Charlie and Ben sat cross-legged on the living room floor, flipping through a tattered sketchbook filled with pencil drawings and diagrams. You draw these? William asked, stepping closer. Charlie nodded. Ben sketches. I write the ideas. William knelt beside them. One page showed a phone screen with colorful app icons. Another had a sketch of two boys standing under a storm cloud, holding a broken umbrella, but still smiling. I like this one, William said, tapping the drawing gently. That's us, Ben said quietly. We always shared the same umbrella, even if it didn't really work. A lump formed in William's throat. Charlie looked up at him. Did you really not know we existed? No, William replied, his voice low. If I had, I would have come sooner, I promise. Charlie nodded slowly. Mom said you were probably too busy. William exhaled. She's not wrong. I let work consume me. I didn't think I had time for anything else. And now, I see what I missed. Ben picked up another page, a crude but clever wireframe of a kid's budgeting app. Charlie wants to make this one real. William smiled. Then maybe we can build it together. The boys exchanged a look, half hopeful, half wary. But neither said no. Later that night, William returned to his condo. He stood in the center of his living room, staring at the skyline. But all he could see was the towel in the window, the tiny room where Elizabeth breathed in shallow rasps. He poured a drink, didn't sip it, just watched the glass sweat in his hand. Then, something drew him to his office. He opened an old desk drawer and pulled out a leather-bound notebook. Inside were sketches. Sketches he hadn't touched in over a decade. Among them, tucked between pages, was a folded flyer. Boston FinTech Summit. 12 years ago. The memories rose fast. Elizabeth had been on the panel. Sharp-witted, warm, passionate. Her laugh had caught him off guard, rising above the noise of a crowded networking event like a melody that didn't belong in a room full of algorithms and venture capital. They had coffee after her talk. You don't really believe people trust these platforms, do you? She had teased, sipping her espresso with a raised brow. William had chuckled. I believe they want to. Trust, she said, isn't data. It's human. Later, they shared a late walk along the harbor, the water dark and still, broken only by reflections of distant lights. She had touched his arm when she spoke. It wasn't flirty, it was grounding, like she wanted him to feel something real, and then, just like that, it ended. He had meetings, a plane to catch, a quarter to close. She had asked for his number. He gave her his assistance. That choice had shaped 12 years of silence. William sat down, staring at the summit flyer in his hands. The ink had faded, but Elizabeth's notes still lined the margins in tidy blue script. She'd mattered, and he had let her disappear. He picked up his phone and dialed. "Stella," he said, once his assistant picked up. "I need to know something. 12 years ago, the Boston Summit. Did anyone named Elizabeth Wren ever try to reach me after?" There was a pause. "I'll check the archives," Stella said cautiously. "Check everything," William replied. "Email, letters, calls, anything tied to her name." He ended the call and stared at the glass on his desk. Outside, the city lights shimmered. But for the first time in years, they didn't shine on a man who felt whole. They shined on a man beginning to see what he'd left in the dark. The next morning, William returned to the apartment, this time carrying 2 large bags, one filled with groceries, the other with school supplies and winter coats. The hallway smelled faintly of fried onions and bleach. He knocked gently. Ben answered the door, blinking in surprise. "You came back." "I said I would," William replied. "I brought a few things." Charlie peeked from behind the couch. "Is that cereal?" William held up a box with a smile. "And Pop-Tarts." Charlie grinned. "You're definitely my dad." Inside, Elizabeth lay resting. Her breathing shallow, skin pale. The boys had covered her with an old blanket, and a folded towel served as her pillow. Beside her bed sat a chipped mug, half full of cold tea. William knelt next to her again. "I'm going to help, Elizabeth. I mean it." Her eyes opened slowly. "You always meant well. You just left too fast. I'm not leaving this time." She studied him, and for a second her hand brushed his wrist. "They need someone steady, someone who stays." "You have my word." She nodded faintly. "Then start with the fridge. It's been empty for days." Later, William stood in the narrow kitchen, loading in fruit, milk, and eggs. Ben stood nearby, quietly peeling the plastic off a new sketch pad. "You draw a lot?" William asked. Ben shrugged. "It keeps my mind busy." William handed him a set of colored pencils. "Try these. I used to draw too when I couldn't sleep." Ben smiled, just barely. "Do you still draw?" "Not in a long time." Ben looked up. "You should, again." In the corner of the room, taped to the wall, William noticed something. A crumpled sheet of lined paper with a child's drawing. 2 boys holding hands, a woman in a hospital bed, and a tall man in a suit standing beside her. He stared at it. "Charlie made that," Ben said. "He kept drawing you even before he met you." William ran a hand over the paper's edge. "I look taller than I really am." Ben smirked. "He thinks dads are supposed to be giants." William's voice softened. "He's not wrong." That night, William returned to his office downtown. He hadn't stepped foot in it since the discovery. The lobby lights felt too bright. The front desk greeted him with robotic cheer. He ignored it all and headed straight to his executive suite. On his desk were spreadsheets, investor reports, acquisition pitches. He swept them into a drawer. Then he pulled up the company's internal system and searched for Elizabeth's name. Nothing. Then her email. Wren12. Dozens of flagged messages popped up, tagged unsolicited, non-priority, and to be ignored. His jaw tightened. He clicked one. Her first message. Kind, direct, asking to talk. Another with a scan of the boys' birth certificates. One more with a simple question. Should I tell them who their father is? He leaned back in his chair, gutted. Stella had filtered them out. Every one. The next morning, he was back at the apartment early. Charlie opened the door, holding a bag of flyers. "We were going to try selling candy today. Hospital bills are piling up." William stepped inside. "No more street selling. But let me handle the hospital. You two just go to school, all right?" Charlie hesitated. "She's not getting better." William walked over to Elizabeth's bedside, knelt again. "I'm getting her transferred," he said. "The best cardiac care unit in the city. I'll pay for it." Elizabeth blinked slowly. "That place on 18th? It costs—" "Doesn't matter." Charlie set the flyer bag down. You serious? William nodded. Completely. Ben stepped out of the room, holding something, a folded paper, the same birth certificate. Keep this, Ben said, just in case someone questions if we're yours. William took it carefully, smoothing the creases. I'll make sure no one ever does again. The sterile scent of antiseptic clung to the hallway as William stepped into St. Bridget's Medical Center. The walls were too white, the lights too bright. He checked in at the nurse's station, clutching a thin manila folder. Elizabeth's medical records, hastily compiled and signed off that morning. Room 408, Cardiology Wing. He walked down the corridor, passing silent rooms and tired eyes. Charlie and Ben followed close behind. Neither said a word. When they reached the room, Elizabeth lay propped up slightly, a heart monitor beeping steadily at her side. Her skin was pale, but her eyes fluttered open when she heard the door. She smiled faintly. You really did it. William stepped closer. They have the equipment here, the specialists, everything you need. Elizabeth tried to sit up, but her breath caught. William helped her gently. I don't want this to feel like charity, she said. It's not, he replied. It's family. Ben placed a small stuffed turtle beside her pillow. You forgot this. She let out a soft laugh. I haven't seen that in years. It was in the hall closet, Charlie added, wrapped in your old scarf. William glanced at the turtle, its seams frayed, one button eye missing. It felt like more than a toy, a reminder, something soft surviving despite years of wear, a symbol of what they'd held on to. Elizabeth touched it gently. They used to fight over this when they were 2. Charlie leaned against the wall. She used to say whoever had the turtle got to pick bedtime stories. Ben smirked. I let him win sometimes. William watched them, heart full and aching all at once. I should have been there. Elizabeth turned her gaze to him. You were lied to, Will. You didn't know. I tried. His voice cracked. I know that now, and I'm furious. She sighed. I kept hoping you'd reply. I didn't want your money. Just the truth, for them. William nodded. You deserved better. Silence settled for a beat before Elizabeth's tone shifted. What happens now? I've already submitted the transfer forms, he said. They'll move you to Mount Clair Cardiac by tomorrow afternoon. I've got a specialist ready, Dr. Levesque. He's the best in the state. Her eyes widened. That's not a small hospital. I told you, William said, his voice steady. You're not doing this alone anymore. Charlie stepped forward. Can we come with her when they move her? Of course, William said. We'll go together. Ben picked at the edge of his sleeve. Are we still living in the apartment? William looked between the boys. That's up to your mom, but my place has space. And a view. Elizabeth coughed gently, then smiled. Let them stay with you, just until I'm stronger. They'll be safer. Charlie's jaw tensed. Are you sure? She reached for his hand. You'll still visit, but I need to rest without worrying. Ben nodded. We'll take care of him, he said, tilting his chin toward William. William laughed. Guess I'll need it. Outside, the rain had cleared, and light streamed through the window for the first time in days. It lit the side of Elizabeth's face, softening the lines, casting a warm hue over the turtle beside her. As they packed a small bag for the transfer, William spotted a framed photo on the nightstand. Faded, water-streaked. A snapshot of Elizabeth at the Boston conference holding a microphone, smiling at someone off camera. He remembered that day. You kept this? He asked. She glanced at it. It reminded me of a time when I believed things could still work out. William lifted the frame, brushed off a fleck of dust. I want to give you something new to believe in. Charlie stood in the doorway, a backpack over one shoulder. We're ready. William looked once more at the photo, then at the boys, and for the first time in 12 years he felt like a man returning, not to fix the past, but to build something real from what was left. A week after Elizabeth's transfer, William sat at his kitchen table with a heavy folder in front of him. His condo, once silent and pristine, now echoed with footsteps and voices. Ben humming as he drew, Charlie tapping on a laptop they'd borrowed from William's office. But William couldn't focus on the sounds of new life. He stared at the printed emails. Dozens of them. Each one Elizabeth had written over the years. Each one marked as filtered for irrelevance by his former assistant, Trevor. Subject, Charlie and Ben's birthday. They're 7 today. I thought you'd want to know. Subject, please read this, William. I don't want money, just a conversation. The further he read, the tighter his jaw clenched. Elizabeth had begged him to listen. She had attached pictures of the boys, milestones, hospital bills, please, and Trevor had deleted every one. He looked up when Charlie stepped into the room, holding a tablet. "Hey, Will, Dad," he said awkwardly. "Can I show you something?" William blinked, nodding. "Yeah, of course." Charlie sat beside him and opened an app mock-up. "I've been working on this. It's like a budgeting app, but for kids, with avatars and reward goals." William leaned in. The code was rough, but creative. "This is really good." Charlie grinned. Ben helped with the graphics. William glanced at his son, amazed by how naturally the word son fit into his thoughts now. "Keep building. I'll get you a real setup." Charlie looked down. "Are you mad?" William frowned. "About what?" He hesitated. "That Mom kept us from you." William exhaled. "No, Charlie, she didn't keep you from me. Someone else did." Charlie tilted his head. "Who?" William hesitated, then stood. He walked to his office, pulled the emails from the folder, and handed them to Charlie. "Read the names. Look at the dates." Charlie's eyes scanned the pages. "She sent all these?" William nodded. "Trevor, my assistant at the time, he blocked every single one." Charlie's eyes narrowed. "Why would he do that?" "I don't know," William said. "Maybe he thought he was protecting me, or maybe he didn't want any disruptions in my perfect life. Either way, he had no right." Just then, Ben appeared in the hallway, holding something behind his back. "I found this in your desk," he said. "Hope you don't mind." He stepped forward and revealed a small, dust-covered photo frame. Inside it, a picture of William at the Boston conference, shoulders back, youthful grin, a woman beside him, Elizabeth. William hadn't even known he kept it. "I think you did remember her," Ben said softly. William swallowed. "I did. Every day. I just convinced myself it was too late." Charlie looked up. "So, what now?" William looked between them. "Now, I call a lawyer, and I make this right. Legally, financially, everything." That afternoon, William marched into his old office. Trevor, now director of operations, looked up from his desk, smug and polished. "William," he said, "didn't expect you today." "I'm not staying long," William replied, "but I do want the truth." Trevor arched a brow. "About?" "You intercepted Elizabeth's emails." A flicker of panic crossed Trevor's face. William, those were filtered. They looked like scams. The name wasn't even familiar." William slammed the folder on the desk. "She sent pictures, medical updates, our children's names." Trevor's confidence cracked. "I thought she was a grifter, trying to latch on." "You thought wrong." William leaned closer, voice cold. "You deleted their lives from mine. You made me abandon my own children without knowing it, and you cost me 12 years. Trevor tried to speak, but William cut him off. "You're done here." Security appeared within minutes. As Trevor was escorted out, William returned to the office and closed the door. He pulled the photo from his coat pocket, the one Ben found. He set it on his desk, beside the folder, beside the truth. Then he picked up the phone and dialed. "I need a family attorney," he said. "One who fights like hell." Because now, he knew what he had to protect. The air in William's condo had changed. It wasn't just the sound of two boys tapping on keyboards or arguing over cereal flavors. It was the warmth, the clutter, the life. His pristine walls now held sketches Ben had taped up, doodles of rockets and cafe logos. Charlie had turned the guest bedroom into a maze of chords and half-finished code. William stood in the kitchen, pouring juice into mismatched mugs. Charlie bounced in, barefoot and beaming. "Guess what I built?" he asked, lifting a phone. "A prototype of the savings app. It tracks chores and gives stars. Kinda like Venmo for kids." William raised an eyebrow. "You're 12 and already building fintech." Charlie shrugged. "Apple started in a garage." William smiled. "We'll upgrade you to a lab." That afternoon, they visited Elizabeth in her new room at Mount Clare. She looked stronger, color returning to her cheeks, her breathing less strained. Ben sat at her bedside, sketching a cafe design. Charlie laid beside her, arm draped lightly across her stomach. William stood at the doorway, watching them. Elizabeth caught his eye. "They're smiling more." "They're safe," he said. "And they're not doing this alone anymore." She nodded. "Neither am I." Just then, a nurse entered with a clipboard. "Ms. Wren, you have a visitor." William frowned. "We weren't expecting anyone." But when the door opened, a man stepped in. Late 30s, tall, sharply dressed. "Stephen," Elizabeth said, tensing. "What are you doing here?" The man flashed a practiced smile. "Heard you were sick. Thought I'd come to see my favorite cousin." William stepped forward. "And you are?" "Stephen Wren," he said, extending a hand. "Family. Who are you?" "William Foster," he replied coolly. "Their father." Stephen blinked, then smirked. "Ah, that's new." Charlie stood up. "Mom doesn't need stress. We were having a good day." Stephen ignored him. "I was just saying hello." Elizabeth sat up straighter, her voice firmer. "Stephen, please. Not today." But Stephen's smile didn't fade. "I'm just making sure everything's appropriate. Would hate for someone to take advantage of the situation." William's jaw tightened. "We're taking care of her. All of us." Stephen's eyes flicked to Charlie and Ben. "And the boys? Staying where now?" "With me," William said. Stephen nodded slowly. "Interesting." After he left, Elizabeth sagged against the pillows. "I don't trust him," she said quietly. "He showed up after my diagnosis, started asking about the boys, about guardianship." William narrowed his eyes. "You think he wants custody?" "He's hinted. Keeps mentioning trust funds. Stability." Charlie crossed his arms. "He's not even around. He only visits on holidays." William stood. "Then we get ahead of this." Back at the condo, William pulled out a legal pad and began scribbling names. Lawyers, specialists, a court liaison. He picked up his phone and dialed. "I need a family law attorney, high-profile experience, and I need them tonight." Charlie walked in, holding something behind his back. "Hey," he said, almost shy. "I finished this." He unfolded a piece of thick paper and held it out. It was a drawing. A 3-story cafe with a neon sign reading Bite and Bond. William stood at the front door, holding 2 laptops. Charlie and Ben leaned from upstairs windows, smiling. "Is this our future?" William asked softly. Charlie shrugged. "Maybe, if we win." William took the drawing and pinned it to the fridge. Then he looked at Charlie. "We're not going to win." Charlie's face dropped. "We're going to fight," William said, "and we're going to protect what's ours. That means you, your brother, your mom, and everything we've started." Charlie nodded, eyes glinting with fire. "Then I'm in." William looked at the sketch one more time and made a vow. No one was going to take his family again. Not now, not ever. The condo buzzed with the quiet energy of creation. Ben sat on the floor, surrounded by colored pencils, sketching logo ideas on thick stock paper. Charlie leaned over a newly assembled computer tower, wires snaking like veins across the table. William watched them from the kitchen island, coffee in hand, amazed at how quickly this space had transformed from a pristine bachelor's fortress to a lived-in family hub. "Look what I made, Dad!" Charlie called out, excitement bouncing in his voice. He spun the monitor toward William. On the screen was a basic interface for Star Save, the kids' budgeting app they'd brainstormed days earlier. Animated coins danced when tasks were marked complete, and a tiny cartoon avatar held up a sign that read, "You earned it." William smiled. "You coded all this already?" Charlie nodded proudly. "And Ben did the avatars." Ben held up a sketch of a cartoon raccoon in a suit. "He's the app mascot. We call him Bite." William chuckled. "Bite! I love it." The name stuck in his chest like something permanent. Later that evening, he led them to a quiet corner of his office, where 3 large monitors now lined the wall. Below them sat 2 high-powered computers, ergonomic chairs, and a table stocked with supplies. "This is your space now," William said. Charlie's jaw dropped. "Wait, this is for us?" "For your ideas," William said. "For your future." Ben walked over and ran a hand across the glass tabletop. "No one's ever done something like this for us." "You deserve it," William said. "All I'm doing is giving you the chance." That night, as the boys worked on their latest mock-ups, William stepped away and called Mount Claire. "How's she doing?" he asked the nurse. "She smiled 3 times today," came the reply, "first time since the transfer." He hung up and leaned against the window, the lights of the city flickering below. His eyes caught the drawing still pinned on the fridge, Charlie's vision of Bite and Bond. Something in him knew. This was the beginning of something bigger. But the next morning, the piece cracked. William came out of his room to find Charlie sitting stiffly on the couch holding an envelope. "This came in the mail," Charlie said. "It's from Stephen." William took it, heart sinking. Inside was a formal letter. Stephen had filed for temporary custody, claiming Elizabeth was unfit and that William was a stranger recently involved. He accused William of using his wealth to manipulate the boys and threatened to file for emergency guardianship. "Is he serious?" Charlie asked. William folded the letter, jaw tight. "He's more than serious. He's trying to split us up." Ben walked in, sensing the tension. "What's going on?" William sat them both down. "Stephen filed paperwork to take you away, but we're not letting that happen." Charlie leaned forward. "What do we do?" William met their eyes. "We fight back, with truth, proof, and people who care." Ben stood up. "Can I show you something?" He returned moments later with a folder labeled Bite and Bond, concept art. Inside were drawings, some silly, some detailed, but one stood out, a blueprint of the cafe they dreamed of. On the wall above the counter, he had drawn a framed birth certificate. Charlie's birth certificate. William touched the drawing. "You kept this as the centerpiece." Ben nodded. "Because it proves who we are, where we belong." William's voice was thick. "Then that's what we'll show the court." That night, while the boys slept, William met with his attorney in the den. He handed over the letter, Elizabeth's medical update, and the birth certificate. "We're going to need character witnesses," the attorney said. "Proof that you've stepped up." William pointed to the living room. "I've got 2. Then he pulled out a sealed envelope, Elizabeth's handwritten letter, notarized before her surgery. She wanted this submitted, just in case. The attorney took it and nodded. This changes everything. And William knew it already had. 2 days later, the condo felt heavier. The court date was approaching fast, and William had spent the past 24 hours assembling documentation, medical records, photos, and affidavits. But despite the evidence, one worry kept circling his mind. Stephen. Not just the custody claim. The man's tone. The smirk. As if this wasn't about the boys at all, but leverage. William paced the living room while Charlie and Ben sat at the dining table, headphones on, quietly coding. The doorbell rang. William opened it to find a process server on the other side, holding a new envelope. "Mr. Foster, you've been served." William's stomach sank. Inside the envelope was a supplemental filing from Stephen's attorney. A bold claim. The children are not biologically William Foster's. He has no legal claim to guardianship. Charlie watched from across the room. "What's wrong?" William handed him the paper. Ben read over his shoulder, face darkening. "That's a lie." William sat down, heart pounding. "He's challenging paternity." Charlie stood straighter. "Then we prove it." William exhaled slowly. "We will. We've already done the DNA test and Elizabeth's letter confirms everything." Ben looked toward the tech room. "Then let's do something with it." He returned minutes later with a printed page, 2 side-by-side photos. William at 12. Charlie now. Same eyes, same slanted smile, same freckle under the left cheekbone. "No one can fake this," Ben said. "We look like you." William's voice cracked. "It's not just blood, you know. It's the choice. Showing up. Every single day." Charlie sat beside him. "And you've done that." Later that afternoon, William's lawyer, Andrea Lynn, arrived with a binder. "This will help," she said. "Elizabeth's letter, notarized. The DNA test from Dr. Klein. I also subpoenaed Trevor, your former assistant. He's agreed to testify that he deleted Elizabeth's emails under false assumptions." William looked surprised. "He's cooperating?" "He regrets what he did," Andrea said, "and that kind of testimony matters." Just then, Charlie entered holding something small, a USB drive. "I added something for court," he said. Andrea raised an eyebrow. "What's on it?" "A short video," Charlie replied, "about our story." William watched the screen over Andrea's shoulder as it loaded. Soft music, photos of Elizabeth, the boys growing up, voiceover snippets from Charlie and Ben talking about meeting William, their dreams, their cafe, their mom's strength. The final frame, the cafe sketch. Ben's voice whispered, "Family is not who you live with. It's who shows up when it matters most." William blinked fast, swallowing hard. Andrea closed the laptop. "We're ready." That night, they visited Elizabeth again. She looked stronger than she had all month. "You look like a team," she said. "We are," Ben said proudly. William sat beside her. "Stephen's trying to discredit everything, but we've got truth, and we've got proof." Elizabeth reached for William's hand. "Then fight with everything." She pulled something from the drawer, an envelope. Inside was a second letter, written to the boys in case she didn't recover. It ended with, "And if William finds you, let him love you. He always had it in him." William tucked it in his jacket pocket. Ben stepped forward. "When we win, we're framing that. Right next to my drawing." Elizabeth smiled faintly. "Make it a big frame." And in that quiet hospital room surrounded by monitors and hope, William felt it again. That same steady pull. Not just to protect, but to belong. And this time, he wasn't letting go. The courtroom sat in cold silence, the kind only mahogany and marble could hold. The judge, a sharp-eyed woman named Honorable Lydia Marks, flipped through documents as William adjusted his tie for the third time. Charlie and Ben sat behind him, quiet but wide-eyed, hands resting on their knees. Stephen entered late, wearing a smug expression and an expensive gray suit. His lawyer trailed him with a briefcase bulging with papers that, William knew, were mostly noise. Andrea leaned over and whispered, "Stay steady. We've got everything lined up. DNA test, notarized letter, Trevor's testimony. But this judge will want heart, not just facts." William nodded once, then turned to glance back at the boys. Charlie gave a small thumbs up. Ben mouthed, "We got this." The hearing began. Stephen's lawyer opened aggressively. "Your Honor, we contend that Mr. Foster, despite recent involvement, has not established sufficient parental connection. My client, Mr. Wren, has been in the boys' lives for years. Family barbecues, holidays, stability." Andrea rose. "Your Honor, we have medical records, a notarized letter from Elizabeth Wren affirming Mr. Foster's paternity and consent, as well as DNA results from Dr. Klein's lab." Judge Marks nodded. "Proceed." Trevor was called to the stand. He looked older than before, suit slightly wrinkled, eyes apologetic. "I was Mr. Foster's assistant for 8 years," he began. "I filtered out correspondence I deemed intrusive. In hindsight, I ignored dozens of messages from Elizabeth. I never told Mr. Foster. I made that call without his consent." Andrea pressed, "Why?" "I thought I was protecting his image, his time. I was wrong." William clenched his jaw, but stayed silent. Andrea submitted emails, time-stamped and deleted, all now recovered. "Your Honor," These were never seen by Mr. Foster. This isn't abandonment, it's sabotage. The judge turned to William. Mr. Foster, why step in now? William stood. Because I was blind for too long. But the moment I saw that birth certificate, I knew. And since that day, I've been here. Every morning, every school run, every hospital visit. Because they're not just my sons by blood, they're my sons by choice. Charlie stood suddenly. Your Honor, may I speak? Lydia Marks paused. You may. Charlie walked forward, holding the drawing, Ben's cafe design, the framed birth certificate front and center. This is what we're building, he said. It's called Bite and Bond. My brother drew this. I coded the app for it. And the name on that certificate is real. He's our dad. He shows up. He listens. He built us a space to dream. Ben stood beside him. And Stephen? He never once helped when Mom got sick. He just started showing up when money was on the table. William felt his heart ache. Pride. Sadness. Everything at once. The judge took a breath. We'll break for deliberation. When they returned, Judge Marks delivered the verdict clearly. This court finds that William Foster has demonstrated not only biological connection, but also deep, sustained emotional commitment. Custody will remain with Mr. Foster. Elizabeth Wren's medical care will be supported by Mr. Foster's family arrangement. This court rejects the custody petition filed by Mr. Stephen Wren. Stephen's jaw dropped. Charlie turned to William. Did we just win? William nodded slowly. We did. Ben ran into his arms, and Charlie followed. For the first time, they said it at the same time, Dad. As the courtroom emptied, Andrea smiled. You didn't just prove you were their father. You lived it. William glanced down at the drawing now folded in his pocket. The birth certificate in Ben's sketch was more than ink. It was earned. And it was just the beginning. The courtroom victory echoed like a drumbeat through the condo. That night, William cooked dinner, grilled cheese and tomato soup, because Charlie said it was comfort food after court stress. They ate on the couch, legs tangled in a blanket, TV on low. But no one was really watching. Ben flipped through his sketch pad, pausing on a drawing of Elizabeth holding hands with the boys, a faint hospital heart monitor in the background. She's gonna get better, he said quietly. She is, William replied, then turned to both of them. I meant what I said in court. I'm not going anywhere. Charlie nudged him. We know. That's why we didn't let Stephen win. In the days that followed, the house began to change. Family photos replaced modern art. Fridge magnets featured app ideas. A framed copy of the judge's custody ruling sat on the mantel, next to a small wooden box. Inside the box? The original birth certificate Charlie had dropped that rainy night. It had become more than a document. It was their symbol, their beginning. Then came the twist. Andrea called. We got an email from someone anonymous. Said Stephen was planning to flee with the boys if he'd won. Had tickets booked under aliases. William's blood ran cold. He said he wanted to give them a better life abroad, Andrea added. The email includes screenshots, dates, receipts. I've already submitted them to the court for record. William exhaled. So, it was never about them, just leverage. Exactly, Andrea confirmed. The judge wants to interview the boys privately. One last step before full guardianship becomes permanent. That night, William told them everything. Stephen had a plan, he said softly. If we hadn't stopped him in court, he would have taken you, far away. Charlie's face went pale. He doesn't even like us. Ben swallowed hard. He just wanted Mom's money. William leaned forward. That's why this interview matters. It's your voice now, not mine. Yours. The next day, the boys entered Judge Marks' chambers, each taking a seat on the plush leather bench across from her. Charlie, Ben, she began. I'm not here as a judge today, just someone who wants to understand. Charlie looked at Ben, then spoke first. William showed up, he said. Every time. Not just when it looked good. He listened. He let us mess up. He made space. Ben added, Stephen said he'd help Mom, but never did. William moved her to a better hospital. He sat with her. He cried. The judge studied them. Do you want William to stay in your lives? Both boys nodded in perfect unison. Yes, ma'am. Outside, William waited, pacing near the marble columns. When the door opened and the judge stepped out, she gave him a simple nod. Congratulations, Mr. Foster. It's done. Later that evening, the three of them sat on the condo balcony overlooking the city lights. The skyline shimmered like hope. Charlie pulled out his phone and opened a new app window. What's this one? William asked. Charlie grinned. It's for Bite and Bond, reservation system, rewards for kids who save money, and, get this, avatars that look like us. Ben added, even a mini William. Gray suit, coffee cup, dad mode. William laughed, voice catching. I don't know how I got so lucky. Charlie handed him a sketch from his backpack, a new one. This time, the cafe's counter held a small golden plaque. Founded by 3 hearts, bonded by truth. William traced the drawing with his thumb. Frame it, he said, next to the birth certificate. And under the city lights, their journey didn't feel like a courtroom battle anymore. It felt like home. 3 weeks after the court's final ruling, the apartment felt fuller, not from furniture, but from life. Charlie rushed into the kitchen, clutching a programming book and grinning wide. Dad, look what I finished. I built a chatbot that answers like you. William looked up from the stove, laughing. Does it nag you about homework? Worse, Ben muttered, setting down his sketch pad. It reminds you to floss and says, you'll thank me at 40. William held a wooden spoon like a mic. Hey, some of us like clean teeth and smart investments. The laughter filled every corner of the home. But even in joy, a quiet ache lingered. Elizabeth wasn't there yet. She was recovering slowly in the rehab wing at the new medical center, monitored day and night. But her absence left a noticeable void. Every night, Ben would check her photo on his phone before sleeping. Charlie kept her necklace on his desk. That Saturday, William sat with both boys on the couch, flipping through design concepts for their tech cafe idea. Charlie pointed at a logo. Bite and Bond, it read. Underneath, 2 pixelated hands clasped in unity. Ben added, and that's Mom's handwriting at the bottom. I traced it from an old birthday card. William's throat tightened. It's beautiful. Then Ben said, we want to open it when she can walk in and see it. William nodded slowly. Then we make sure it's perfect. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. Ben designed the cafe's interior, a modern space with charging hubs, coding corners, and a digital mural of Philadelphia's skyline. Charlie programmed an app for digital punch cards and trivia nights, but the most important piece stood at the entrance. Framed in matte black, Charlie's birth certificate hung beside the door. The name, William Foster, bold, undeniable. It's the moment everything changed, Charlie said, not the paper, what it woke up. Then, one Thursday morning, the call came. Elizabeth was ready. William brought her to the cafe in a wheelchair. She looked thinner, softer, but her eyes lit up when she saw the sign. Bite and Bond. Ben ran to her, holding a stylus. Ready to sign the tablet? It's the ceremonial first customer screen. She chuckled, voice faint. Can I use a coupon? Charlie stepped in. Only if you share a muffin. Inside, the place buzzed with soft jazz and quiet laughter. College kids sipped lattes. Young coders tapped away on keyboards. Elizabeth looked around, eyes brimming. You built this? William crouched beside her. We built this. You, me, them. Every missed moment, we turned it into something that stays. She reached out, placing her hand over his. I thought we lost everything, she whispered, but somehow we found more. Ben guided her to the corner wall, where the digital mural shifted scenes. A photo appeared, Elizabeth holding both boys at age 3. She gasped. Charlie said, We coded it to show memories, randomly. You're the heartbeat of the cafe. She leaned into the boys. You call him Dad now? They nodded together. He earned it. William, standing behind them, exhaled a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. That night, as the cafe closed, William stepped outside. The street glowed with lamplight. Inside, Elizabeth laughed softly at something Ben said. Charlie wiped down the counter like a proud manager. William reached into his coat pocket, pulled out the drawing Ben had made, the one with their family beneath pixel stars. He framed it that evening and placed it beside the birth certificate. 2 symbols. One beginning. A bond beneath the city lights. 3 months had passed, and the glow of soft cafe lights spilled onto the sidewalk like a promise. Inside Bite and Bond, the grand opening buzzed with excitement. The walls shimmered with digital art, Ben's signature style, city skylines fused with pixel hearts and circuit lines. Charlie darted behind the counter, checking the POS system he built himself. Everything hummed with pride, with purpose. William adjusted his tie in the reflection of the display window, nerves bubbling, not from business, but from the weight of what this day meant. Elizabeth sat near the front, cheeks flushed with color, her strength slowly returning. She wore a navy cardigan that Charlie had picked out. Her gaze swept the cafe, pausing at the centerpiece. Charlie's birth certificate, framed in walnut and lit from above. Her voice broke through the music. You kept it by the door. William nodded. It started it all. At 10 a.m., sharp, the doors opened. Students, techies, curious neighbors, all filtered in, marveling at the concept. Each booth had built-in tablets. The wall menu was interactive. Every detail had Ben's and Charlie's fingerprints. A teenager approached William. Did your son design this interface? William smiled. My sons did. As the cafe filled, a man entered. A quiet, observant type. He wore an old jacket, his face weathered. Ben stiffened. That's Stephen. William's jaw tensed, but he stepped forward. Stephen looked around, slow. Didn't think you'd follow through. William's voice stayed even. You underestimated what they mean to me. Stephen gave a low laugh. They're lucky you have money, but blood doesn't buy trust. William gestured toward the framed certificate. No, but truth does. Stephen glanced at Elizabeth. You look better. I am better, she replied, steady. Because I'm safe. They are too. Charlie moved beside William. This is our place. You don't get to ruin it. Ben joined. Not this time. Stephen scoffed but turned. I'll be watching. William watched him leave, the door chiming softly behind him. Charlie exhaled. That felt good. William placed a hand on his shoulder. You stood tall. Later, as the cafe settled into a rhythm, William stepped outside. A small boy stared through the glass, wide-eyed. William opened the door. You want to come in? The boy hesitated, then nodded. His mother followed, cautious. Charlie greeted them with cocoa samples. Ben offered a sticker with their logo. Elizabeth leaned toward William. You know, this isn't just a cafe. No, he said. It's our second chance. She squeezed his hand. And maybe theirs, too. As the sun dipped behind the city, the digital mural behind the counter shifted. It showed a stylized animation. A boy in the rain, dropping a paper, a man picking it up, their hands meeting. The caption read, Some lights find you, even in the storm. Everyone paused. Charlie stepped onto a small platform. He cleared his throat. This cafe isn't just about coffee or code. It's about connection. It's about second chances, even when you think they've passed. For us, it started with one piece of paper. He pointed at the birth certificate. But it grew into a family. The room clapped, some wiping tears. William looked at Elizabeth, then the boys. I was lost in numbers, but love brought me back. Ben added softly, This place is ours, but it's for everyone who needs a new beginning. As evening rolled in and the sign outside glowed brighter, William knew. Beneath the city lights, something far greater than success had taken root. Something real, something earned. A family. The next morning, Bite and Bond felt quieter, but not empty. It was a Sunday, soft jazz playing, sunlight spilling through tall windows. The scent of fresh scones lingered in the air, and laughter bubbled gently from the kitchen. William stood behind the counter drying mugs. He wasn't wearing a suit, just jeans and a button-down rolled at the sleeves. He liked it better this way. Real, relaxed. Ben peeked around the corner. "Dad, can we show you something?" He looked up, heart catching on the word. "Of course." Charlie held out a folded piece of paper, one of those cafe customer comment slips. But this one was different. He'd drawn something. William unfolded it. A hand-drawn logo, sleek, sharp, in digital blue. Underneath, their cafe's name, Bite and Bond. And beneath that, in Charlie's uneven script, built on truth, held by love. William blinked. "You made this?" Charlie nodded. "Together." Ben added, "It's for the new sign outside." William stared at them. "It's perfect." Elizabeth sat near the window, watching. Her cheeks had color again, and her eyes sparkled with quiet pride. She waved them over. "Come sit with me." They did. All four, around a small, round table. "Do you remember," Elizabeth began, "that fintech conference in Boston?" William smiled. "The broken elevator?" She laughed. "You gave me your umbrella. It had the company logo. And I kept it." Charlie looked between them. "Wait, is that the same umbrella in the hallway?" Elizabeth nodded. "I never threw it away." Ben grinned. "Guess it was fate." Outside, a small group of kids passed by the cafe. One pointed at the framed certificate through the glass. "Mom," the child said, "is that real?" Her mother nodded. "I think it means this place has a story." Inside, the Foster family watched them walk away. Elizabeth said softly, "I never imagined this." William reached across the table, taking her hand. "Neither did I, but I'm glad we're here." The bell above the door jingled. An older woman entered, using a cane. Charlie leapt up. "Hi! Welcome to Bite and Bond." She smiled. "I saw the birth certificate in the window. That's your real story." "Yes, ma'am," William replied. She nodded, eyes misty. "Then you've built something that matters." Later that evening, the family gathered upstairs in the apartment above the cafe. Charlie worked on a coding project. Ben was sketching logo mock-ups. William sat beside Elizabeth, her head on his shoulder. "I thought I'd lost you," he whispered. "You were never lost," she said, "just waiting for the right time." Downstairs, the lights of the cafe glowed warmly, casting shadows like stars against the glass. The framed birth certificate still stood by the entrance, its edges worn, but its meaning stronger than ever. Charlie called out from the hallway, "Hey, Dad!" William turned. "Yeah, Bud." Charlie held up his tablet. "Look what I made. It's a visitor app. Customers can leave messages, and we'll feature one a week on the screen by the counter." Ben added, "And I designed the welcome animation." William walked over, kneeling beside them. "You two never stop amazing me." Charlie looked at him. "It's because you saw us," William's voice caught. "And I always will." Outside, the Philadelphia skyline shimmered, city lights winking like fireflies in the dark. William looked around the room, Elizabeth resting, Charlie coding, Ben smiling, and felt something he hadn't known he was missing: home. In that small cafe, tucked beneath the city lights, love had rewritten the story, and this time it would never be erased.